Good evening, you're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. Let's get you the very latest coming in from Mumbai, where the CBI is on day 4 of the investigation. What we do have for you are insider details. One of our team members, one of our editors who's there reporting the story very closely, has in fact spoken to a CBI team member. There is a 16-member team of the CBI investigating the Sushant Singh Rajput death case. One of those members has spoken to India Today, giving out details on what the CBI has as of now. The CBI probe is intensifying. What we do know, there are discrepancies that are appearing in the statements of witnesses. Is the CBI working on the murder theory or the suicide theory? We're going to get you that more coming up in just a minute with my colleague Shams Tahir Khan. There are discrepancies between Sushant Singh Rajput's cook, Neeraj Singh, and what he's saying, and Siddharth Pithani on what he's saying, who was living in at the flat. Two very different versions are being provided by both of them. Out of these two, which is the one that the CBI suspects? We're going to get you more on that. In terms of, just to give you a few examples, one of the few things that has been picked up is Neeraj's version of how Siddharth Pithani behaved through the time of crisis when they were going to try and open the door. As per Neeraj, he was extremely calm. However, Siddharth Pithani says he was panicking. Lots of discrepancies such as this. Again, the cook Neeraj said that after the door was opened by key maker, Siddharth was relaxed and waited for the key maker to leave, whereas Siddharth said that he was in an abject tearing hurry for the key makers to leave so he could open the door. The cook Neeraj claims that when Sushant wasn't opening the door, Siddharth just called on Sushant's phone and knocked once, whereas Pithani claims that he was worried and was regularly banging on the door. Another inconsistency is that while Pithani said that Sushant looked fine on 13th June, his cook claims that he looked depressed. While Pithani claims that Rhea left on 8th June, the cook alleges that Rhea looked visibly upset while she was leaving Sushant's house. CBI has also found inconsistencies about who entered Sushant's flat first. Both of these have given very different versions. Neeraj has said the face was facing downwards to the window, while few others have said that the face was in a different direction. In wake of these inconsistencies, the witnesses now will be confronted together. I want to immediately now cut across to our editor, Shams Tahir Khan, who's been tracking the news and the developments of the CBI investigations in the last 3 days. He's been able to speak to one of the members of the team of the CBI, and let's get you all the various angles, the insider details that the CBI investigator has given Shams. Shams, आपकी एक CBI investigator से बात हुई है, उन्होंने आपको काफी कुछ चीजें बताई हैं. क्या can you tell our viewers, क्या आप हमारे viewers को बता सकते हैं?
प्रीति, जो सबसे अहम बात है वो ये है कि लास्ट 3 डेज से 3 दिन से अलग अलग पूछताछ हो रही है उन्हीं 4 विटनेस से जो कि घर में मौजूद थे, जिनमें सिद्धार्थ पिठानी और सबसे ज्यादा जो अब तक है नीरज से सबसे ज्यादा लंबी पूछताछ की सीबीआई ने. इसके बाद सिद्धार्थ पिठानी से हुई 3 मेन कैरेक्टर से पूछताछ हो चुकी थी. आज चौथा नया कैरेक्टर आया केशव, उससे भी पूछताछ हुई. लेकिन जो रिपोर्ट्स हैं हमारे वो ये कह रहे हैं कि जो नीरज के बयान है उसके कुछ पॉइंट सिद्धार्थ पिठानी जो है वो अलग बोलता है. इवन आज जब केशव आया इस पूरे बयान में, तो कई ऐसे केशव के भी स्टेटमेंट हैं जो नीरज और सिद्धार्थ पिठानी से भी जल नहीं कर रहे हैं, मिल नहीं रहे. तो कहीं ना कहीं इन सभी के बयान में थोड़ा बहुत अलग अलग चीजें हैं, और इसीलिए सीबीआई की टीम लगातार घंटों इनसे पूछताछ करके कि आखिर क्या वजह है कि सबके स्टेटमेंट अलग अलग हैं, इसके पीछे लॉजिक क्या है. या फिर ये भी है कि उसमें एक पॉइंट ये भी आ रहा है कि एक फर्स्ट फ्लोर पे था, बाकी नीचे के फ्लोर पे थे, तो उसकी वजह से कुछ चीजें जो उन्हें पता थी वो बता रहे हैं, जो उनको नहीं मालूम थी वो नहीं बता रहे हैं. तो इन सारी चीजों को वो मिलाकर देखना चाह रहे हैं. लेकिन हाँ, ये फैक्ट है कि जो चारों हैं, इन चारों के बयान बिल्कुल एक जैसे नहीं है. जबकि ठीक मुंबई पुलिस को जो बयान दिए गए थे, उस बयान को अगर हम देखें तो लगभग कुछ छोटी मोटी चीजों को छोड़ दें तो सभी के स्टेटमेंट बिल्कुल हूबहू एक जैसे थे. लेकिन
तो बस एक बात और पूछना चाहूंगी, जो अभी सीबीआई इंसाइडर से आपकी बात हुई है, उन्होंने आपको क्या इंडिकेशन दिया है कि सीबीआई मर्डर की तरफ जा रही है या सुसाइड की तरफ?
देखिए, अभी वो इस बारे में कुछ नहीं कहना चाहते हैं। सिर्फ एक लाइन बार बार जब भी उनसे बात होती है, सिर्फ एक लाइन कहते हैं कि हमारे लिए सारे ऑप्शन खुले हुए हैं, हम सुसाइड और मर्डर हर एंगल से इसकी तफ्तीश कर रहे हैं। हम सिर्फ एक फोकस नहीं कर रहे हैं कि हम इसको पूरे केस की हम सुसाइड के एंगल से जांच करें, क्योंकि उसमें फिर बहुत सारी चीजें गलत हो सकती हैं। तो उनका जो एकदम एग्जैक्ट जो उनका कहना है वो ये कि हमारे लिए सारे ऑप्शन खुले हुए हैं, हर एंगल से हम इस केस की जांच कर रहे हैं। तो ये कहना कि हम सिर्फ यहाँ पे सुसाइड के एंगल से इसकी जांच करने के लिए आए, ये गलत होगा। और जैसे जैसे ये जांच आगे बढ़ेगी, हमें जो जो प्रूफ मिलेंगे, सबूत मिलेंगे, उसी हिसाब से केस आगे की तरफ बढ़ेगा। और अभी इनिशियल, चूंकि अभी तक सिर्फ विटनेस से बातचीत हुई है, इसके अलावा अक्यूज की अब सिलसिला शुरू होगा। जब रिया चक्रवर्ती फ्रेम में आएंगी तो फिर बात आगे बढ़ेगी। लेकिन मैं फिर रिपीट करता हूं कि सीबीआई हर एंगल से, यानी कि सिर्फ सुसाइड नहीं बल्कि मर्डर की थ्योरी से भी अपनी इन्वेस्टिगेशन को आगे बढ़ा रही।
बहुत शुक्रिया शम्स हमसे बात करने का. Thank you Shams for joining us. So that's the latest update that we've got you on the Sushant Singh Rajput case, but I want to now completely shift focus on the big political developing story of today. Today morning it did seem that there was possibly mutiny in the Congress, that Congress was dissenting, that Congress wanted change, that Congress wanted course correction, that Congress wanted a permanent solution to the post of president. However, through the course of the day, the part of the Congress that wanted that has completely been set aside, and those dissenters, some of them, by many of the Congress itself, were called BJP stooges. Take a look at what's panned out. Right ahead of Congress's working committee, Congressies raise the revolt banner. 23 leaders write dissent letter. Want course correction. Letter demands a full-time chief and not interim president. Dissent divides the party. Congress takes fight to the Gandhis. Is the dynasty in denial?
गांधी नेहरू परिवार का अस्तित्व समाप्त हो गया है, उनका राजनीतिक वर्चस्व समाप्त हो गया है, कांग्रेस का अस्तित्व समाप्त हो गया है.
Are the Gandhis putting their interest over the party? A familiar script plays out. The grand old party seemed to be imploding again, this time in the CWC, on social media and outside. However, post the public revolt, there was damage control. And in the end, Sonia Gandhi remained interim president. The mutiny had quelled, raising the question, if not Gandhis, then who? Can the party survive without the Gandhis? All right, so inside details coming in of the CWC, which finished just about 40 minutes ago. So what really went down was high drama, where Ahmed Patel, a Gandhi insider close to the Gandhi family, directly accused Anand Sharma of drafting this letter of dissent, and he said that he felt sorry for senior leaders like Ghulam Nabi Azad, Mukul Wasnik, who actually fell for it. Manmohan Singh called the dissenters' letters unfortunate. Ambika Soni actually demanded action against those who drafted the letter seeking leadership overhaul. Now, in the end, just remember, Sonia Gandhi will remain interim Congress chief. She said that everyone must raise issues only at party forums, not on social media, not outside, not through leaks, only on party forums. Let's quickly cut across to our guest this evening. I have Tom Wadakan, BJP spokesperson. He was a part of the Congress not very far back. And Mr. Wadakan, today I'd like to speak to you as somebody who was with the party earlier. Javed Ansari, political analyst, joining us. I have Sanjay Jha, suspended Congress leader. And Mr. Jha, I want to begin with you. Are you a little disappointed? Because what clearly seemed to suggest in the morning was a large chunk of prominent Congress leaders asking for reform, asking for course correction, asking for a permanent solution. All of that has now been quelled. Interim President Sonia Gandhi stays.
Well, our suggestions are out there in the public domain. We want transparent elections for the post of the Congress president, for the Congress working committee, and for other bodies like the Congress Parliamentary Party. We want an outreach to happen to our former Congress colleagues that has yet to happen. So, there is basically a very, very urgent need for the Congress to transform itself by making our internal democracy vibrant. At the moment, it's quite moribund. And therefore, the Congress party has struggled. And on the leadership issue, we do believe that the Congress party needs a very visible, on-ground, active, 24/7 leader who is able to inspire voters, galvanize the cadres, engage with a wide section of the constituencies that we deal with, and essentially make sure that it is able to motivate the Congress party to a win in 2024.
Okay, Mr. Vadakan, one thing that seems is the more things change, the more they remain the same with the Congress.
Preeti, you're very right on that. I'll tell you one instance. My friend here, Rashid, and others here would remember the revolt of Sharad Pawar. Now, incidentally, that was a revolt that happened, and Sharad Pawar ji, moron, formed a new party. But there were people who were part of that revolt who stayed back. The same players are involved here. I don't know whether Sanjay ji would like to say that on record here. The same players have now taken up a situation where they say, look, these are the people who are responsible. These games are going on. And that's what I said. It happened a decade back. And right there, it's happening now. Nothing changes, Preeti, in this whole exercise. What happens is, yes, people like Sanjay have stood up and taken a cause. He's fighting. I am proud of him that he's fighting. But the Bharatiya Janata Party has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with anything of what is happening. We have too much on our hand. We have a pandemic happening. We have a situation at the borders. We are looking after all that. Our ministers are busy. And we don't have time for this tamasha without entertainment tax. So now when they blame us for any of these kind of things, we just don't have the time. I, as being an insider earlier, am reacting. But no, my party doesn't have the time to react to these kind of self-goals. And then you ask, well, what is the opposition going to do? If they failed as an opposition, it's for the people of India to respond to them. Because you have seen this is the second time after Parliament, earlier Parliament, what happened was they failed again. People of India are not silent. The slumber is over. People have woken up. They have realized that this party cannot deliver. There are people in the Congress party who are fighting, want to set things right. They make promises and they want to go. Instead of being thanked, they are labeled as enemies. Now the point here is, these are people with sincerity. These are people who have a sincere desire to change. Instead of being thanked and say, look, let's do a course correction, what they're saying is, well, I'm hurt, but let us forget it. You can't be hurt and still forget it. There is a contradiction in terms. Preeti, watch out for my words. Each one of them will be haunted and they will be isolated, ignored, as it happens in the Congress.
All right. Okay, Mr. Vadakan, you're talking about a lot of your former colleagues. I want to bring in right now Javed Ansari, who's followed the Congress very closely. Javed, a lot of people would say, what's going on? Because this is, a group of leaders of the Congress, some of them highly esteemed, who wanted course correction, who wanted soul searching, who wanted to reform, and now they are being termed as dissenters by many from the Congress itself.
Yes, some have termed them dissenters, but go by what the Congress president has said. Whatever has been said, they are all colleagues. Some of the points raised by the signatories are legitimate. I also believe that there are more people who share this view than just the 23 who agreed to put their signature to that letter. But having said that, there are some, course correction cannot happen overnight. There are some of the points they've made have been registered. The Congress should have held internal elections as early as of 10 years, as early as of many months ago. They have now, following this demand, agreed to hold elections within the next 6 months. They've also decided, one of the other demands was, or suggestions was, that there should be a consultative process. There will now be a committee that will assist the Congress president in the day-to-day running of the party. I'd like to believe that one or more of the signatories could be a part of that committee. There are other processes. The onus is now on the Congress leadership, Mrs. Gandhi has said, the past is past, they are all colleagues, we need to work together. So now it's for her to put into practice and to ensure and to play the kind of role that she's famous for, play the role of a unifier and take everybody along. Who becomes president will now be decided in the organizational elections, whether it's Rahul Gandhi or my dear friend Sanjay Jha or whoever the party elects will become president, and then therefore will have the kind of legitimacy.
But that's the problem, Javed, and I want to ask you that as well, but I want to bring in Sanjay on this first. Sanjay, do you really think that the Congress can do without the Gandhis? In the morning, one thing was very clear by these leaders. They said they wanted a permanent solution to the leadership crisis. They did not want an interim person in the middle who doesn't want to be the president, but a permanent leader and a permanent chief. Eventually, what they got was an interim president again. Can the Congress do without the Gandhis? If not the Gandhis, then who? Name me 3 people from the Congress that can take over that position today and will be accepted.
Well, in our opinion, until you give somebody an opportunity, unless somebody's mettle is tested, how does one know that? I do believe this is a fairly fragile proposition. It's a canard spread by some vested interests because, the truth is that, Rajiv Gandhi had very little political experience. He was the Prime Minister of India and the entire Congress party supported him. So end of day, until somebody is truly tested, you will never know how capable they are. And the Congress party is not short on talent. Amongst the several names in the 23 people who have signed, there are potential candidates who can lead the Congress. I mean, there could be others, but in the 23 names, there is enough wherewithal in terms of resources, capability, leadership, and vision who can take the Congress party forward.
Sanjay, I'd like to ask you who those 3 people are, but having said that, I want to cut across to Tom Vadakan, who's with us. Mr. Vadakan, as somebody who was part of the Congress, do you think the party, over the years you've seen the party, you've seen Dissent, you're talking about Sharad Pawar, there was Mamata Banerjee as well. When you look at examples and you go through the party's history, most of it you've spent with the party. Do you think the party can do without the Gandhis? Or is the party the Gandhis and Gandhis are the party?
No, I think there has been situations where the party has been led by outsiders who have been not part of the dynasty. Now, this entitlement has risen because of this dynastic perception. Because I'm so and so, I follow, and I have to become the next Congress president. I think all this must end. You have a competent leader. What they're asking is what? 24/7 leader to lead the party. Is that asking for more? The point here is you have a leader who is here in Delhi for a month or 15 days and vanishes. And then you come up and you have lost all, whatever issue you have raised has been lost and you come out with a new issue. You can't have politics like that. You have to be on the ground. You have to lead the party from the front. It's not enough to be on Twitter. Twitter is not something which you can lead the nation. You make comments on Twitter and you go away for a holiday for 2 months and then surface back again and do a Twitter from somewhere else. Doesn't work. And that is why the party is in a plight, which is what we are seeing today. The Bharatiya Janata Party, let me say, is happy and comfortable with the likes of Rahul Gandhi. We are not worried. We have our agenda, our Prime Minister's focus. We are doing what should be done. But here, the opposition is failing. And why are they failing? That is something Congress must answer.
Well, the opposition has been failing, and that's, not far from truth, Javed. And I want to bring you in for one final comment, Javed. What do you see now go on? Because today there seemed to be actual acknowledgement that we have to get this house in order, otherwise we are going to implode. Just about when that started filtering in, you had Kapil Sibal openly talking about it. You had Ghulam Nabi Azad who offered to resign in the meeting. All was well, if I can say it, by the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I've followed Congress enough to know. And even Sanjay is here on the program. He will say this was not a rebellion. They want systemic changes. It's unfortunate that this had to become a matter of public discourse for the Congress party to acknowledge that these are issues which need to address. Anyway, better late than never. They have acknowledged, there is a certain acknowledgement. They are committed to holding elections and then within the next 6 months. Now those elections have to be free and transparent, whether it is Rahul Gandhi, Sanjay Jha, Ghulam Nabi Azad or Javed Ansari, whoever aspires to be president must go through the grind, must contest and win the conference of the electoral college. And once that is in place, I mean, this is one of the main demands of Sanjay and his group.
I need to close the bulletin. We're running out of time. Appreciate you three gentlemen for joining us. Well, Sanjay Jha already stands suspended, so he can't be there. Javed Ansari is a journalist. We'll only know in time to come. Till now, it's interim President Sonia Gandhi. Thank you for watching. Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.